Yeah, I'm Mat Smith.
I'm Lloyd.
And we're farming in a partnership in Ramsey, which is in the Cambridgeshire Fens.
Yeah, we farm about 183 hectares with a range of crops from potatoes, have grown sugar beet in the past, millet, canary seeds, sunflowers, beans, oats, and a few others chucked in.
Changing the cropping year to year, we grow up to 14 different crops, as Lloyd said. Many of the crops now are grown for our own production of birdseed, which is available on local markets, etc. And that just gives us a different interest and spreads the risk across the farm.
Yeah, we're third generation farmers, so we took over from Dad 19 years ago, and since then we've changed the practices on the farm from a traditional plough, power harrow combination drill to a more less disturbance drills, but not totally down the min-till route.
So last summer we were fortunate enough to win the Royal Cliff Bridge Sustainability Award. The base of our application really was on our relationship with the local community. We host an annual sunflower walk where we have possibly 600-700 people a year come through our sunflower crop. And it just introduces a lot of people to the farm, what we do, what the industry does widely. We try and expand on what we do across the farm. We try and introduce not just the cropping, but the environmental work we do on the farm. We're under an SFI scheme, we're under a countryside stewardship scheme. We have overwintered bird feeding areas, we have nectar and pollen areas, and it just sets a bigger story than just agriculture itself. For example, at the moment, we take part in the no-cut maize, so none of our field edges will be cut until later in late spring, early summer. It's just the small bits that just explain what we can do from the positives of farming as well as the food production, or alongside the food production. In the Cambridgeshire Fens, we're sitting just below sea level for most of the farm, so we do find that we've had to change practices, but we've had to be careful because the weed bird in our organic soils has been a real problem.
A big change came about when stubble burning finished here, then black grass pressure began to get higher and higher, so we decided to change away from the ploughing route to keep on top of the weeds, so we're creating a stale seedbed easier for us, and also flipping to the spring crops also helps us to get a nice stale seedbed before we come to plant.
A stale seedbed, quite simply put, is where we try and leave the soil as undisturbed as possible. So we'll try and reduce all the weeds that are in the seedbed before we drill, then drill and establish the crop. And this hopefully will reduce the burden and the pressure on herbicide application after the crop's grown. And then we'll follow up with introduced inter-row hoeing as well, so to reduce any more need for applications during the growing season.
The type of soil we've got here is we range from one end of the farm is quite clay, heavy clay, to the other end which is quite organic, black fen as we would call it. Both have our own challenges. The black fen's easy land to get crops established, has a higher weed burden. The heavier side of the farm is great for keeping the water in the soil if we can get something established to start with, but obviously has its own challenges in getting a good enough seedbed to get the crops established to start with.
Being in the fens, all the fields, with one exception, lay under sea level. So I think about 90% of our fields are under drained, so they have like a simple drainage system, a hollow pipe that runs underneath the field. That then, as the water perforates through the soil, runs into the ditches. The ditches then go into what we consider main drains, which are then pumped out eventually into the North Sea through a system for internal drainage boards.
Yeah, so we planted the potatoes about the 20th of April this year. We use a quite simple system. We don't plough anymore. We just ridge them up into big like triangles in the winter, and then go through with a bed tiller to create fine soil, then take a declodder to come through to take the big lumps of soil out, and then straight in with a planter.
Yeah, so we stand in the potato field now. This is one of the seed potatoes. It's a variety called Sagita. We planted these about a month ago, so mid-April. They've been planted in the ridges, as you can probably see. We try and push as much soil up around the potato as possible. This encourages new tuber growth, but also stops the greening. If you leave potatoes on the side at home, you'll see they get a green, so they need to be covered up to create the best soil we can, the growing conditions we can, to increase yield and get better potatoes. These will be harvested probably mid-October and then head down in 25 kilo bags to fish and chip shops in the London and South East area. We hope to have about 250,000 portions of chips available for chip shops out of this field alone.
A few years ago, me and Matt decided to try a bit of diversification. We thought we'd try our own bird seed. So we thought we could do the whole process of growing and then bagging it up and selling it direct to the public. Obviously, there's a few more issues in there than we thought. So behind us, we've got the seed sorter that we purchased to try and get the seeds as clean as possible. And we're finally getting there. A few tweaks needed still, but yeah, so we can not only sell the product, but also sell a story of the whole process from us planting the seed to being in the bag. Yeah, so this is the crop pre-cleaning. So this is from harvest. It will have been cleaned once just to take out the really big bits of stalk, but this is going through the cleaner. This is the seed sorter. The seed goes into the top, and then it's got a vibration plate which takes out all the big pieces, the odd bits of straw, and then they fall into where you can see the glass there, where there's a big fan that blows, and the seed is gently released through it, and it blows into these chambers, and then the heavier seed falls to start with, and then it chucks the lighter stuff towards the end, so we can determine which bits we want to put in the bags and which bits to throw away. We're on the blacker side of the farm now, so there's more organic content in here, so 15-20% organic content, which makes the soil break down a lot easier. Really good for root crops, just easier to get a finer seed bed. Disadvantages are it doesn't hold the moisture as well in the summer, so it needs more irrigating, but a lot easier to get a good seed bed. And with the system we use now with the Claydon, we don't move as much soil, so we're finding that the soil's in much better health all the way through the soil.
It's been a record rainfall. Totals keep going up. It's never rained hard in our lifetime, and it's really set up a challenging season for us. Establishment of all crops has been a problem, and many of the fields have been underwater through long periods through the winter.
And we've even seen, coming into the spring crop, the weight of the soil is, it's really pushed the soil down, so getting enough air back into the soil to get the crops established has been another challenge. And also, when the weather's come nice again, it's gone like concrete on top, so it's getting a good enough seed bed again has been the real challenge.
And from a farming perspective, never been happy with the weather. I think it could be a shallow rooting season as well, which long term could mean if the soil dries out through the summer, the roots haven't gone down as deep. So the irony is of all this water, we could be short of it come summer.
This year, the weather's obviously going to affect the yield. We're going to expect, I would, as a total guess, I think we're probably going to be down a third on yields of wheat, barley, to what we would be normally. That's just all down to there's not enough roots there that have made a viable crop to make a good enough yield. So it's going to be a real challenge.
And that's going to be emphasised even more because some crops have been re-drilled, so we've lost the first crop already. So when we look at the final figures for the year, it's not going to look over pleasant, to be fair.
But on the other side, potatoes have gone in as they should do and could still yield quite well. So, there might be a silver lining. So we've got one of our bean fields here. We grow winter beans, which were planted end of October, start of November probably this year. These are grown for seed, so they'll go off and be dressed and be planted again by other farmers next year. We're at third year into growing winter beans. We've gotten really well with them so far. They'll be harvested sort of end of August, September time, and they give us a really good entry into a wheat following it because of the nitrogen they leave in the soil. So we get a really good winter wheat off it the next year.